Welcome back, everyone, for week 3 of football in the Pac-12 conference. This is TC Taikilla, and today we are talking about the North Division, and then in a little bit I will put out a video about the South Division. Hopefully here in a week or two, we'll have a little bit less games with teams playing each other. That will allow me to make only one video a week, so it's a little bit more concise. Everything's in one spot, and I don't have to make a video for each division. Last week in the Pac-12, for predictions, I went 8-1, bringing my 2-week total to 17-2. I missed on the USC Washington State game, which was kind of not very good, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes when I talk about Washington State. But the other teams that played last weekend, we went 8-0 in non-conference, a bit of a cupcake weekend, but we have a challenging weekend coming up here on Saturday. Every team plays on Saturday, and 4 teams play Big Ten teams, and all of those, I think, all of them are undefeated, 2-0 starts. So it's going to be a very interesting weekend here. Great football if you have nothing to do. It's going to be a great day for those college football fans. And just a little bit of a reminder, I make all my Pac-12 picks as well as my top 25 picks on Reddit, the CFB subreddit. If you're not subscribed to that or aren't a part of the Reddit community, definitely go create an account. It's really easy. Just go on there and then go to the CFB subreddit. It's really fun. Lots of threads throughout the week, news articles, and then game threads on game day are fun as well. Just kind of a gathering place if you can't make it to the game in person. But yeah, just go to, if you don't want to do that, you can just go look at my account, TC Taikilla, and look at my recent comments, and it'll be within the first page or two, probably, and you can see what I pick straight up as well as against the spread. Anyway, let's get on with it. I'm going in reverse power ranking order, and it's kind of subjective. Obviously it's subjective, but I'm kind of using a mix of what people have done, what teams have done up to this point in the season, and kind of who would win if we put them head to head in like 5 games. Who would win the most out of 5 games or something like that. So it's kind of a mix of that. So it's not set in stone how I determine my little power rankings here, but let's just get into it. First off is the California Golden Bears. Last week they had a close game against Portland State, and Jared Goff threw for 485 yards, his second 400-yard passing game in his young career. Amazing future for that kid. 65% completion ratio and 2 touchdowns for him while they beat the Pilots, and 10 receivers caught a ball in that one, so good distribution of the production there. However, on defense, not so bright. They allowed 553 yards total offense to Portland State, and that's not going to cut it when Ohio State comes to town, the number 4th ranked team in the nation, with 262 yards rushing per game for the Buckeyes. And Braxton Miller is still questionable for the game. It could change by the time this video is out. I'm not sure. But his backup, Gilton, I think it is. I don't know how to say it. He played very well last week in replacement of him against San Diego State. Last season in Columbus, California pushed Ohio State to the brim, and it was close in the 4th quarter, but Ohio State pulled out the victory 35-28. And I think it's going to be another close game, and it probably shouldn't be that way, but the Big Ten teams have been having a little bit of issues coming out west for games, and California is pretty talented on the offensive side. Defensively, Ohio State hasn't been looking very good. Buffalo put up 20 on them. San Diego State put up 17. And so I think it's going to be kind of a shootout with these defenses not very good and the offense is the best part of the team. But I still think Ohio State will come out with it, unfortunately. 35-24 is my prediction for the final score. Kind of a low scoring when I say shootout. I don't know what my thinking was on that, but I already made it, so I'm not going to change it. Going on to number 5, I'm not going to talk about this one in this video. It's Oregon State, and they play at Utah. I will talk about this game in the South video. I'm going to be doing that throughout the year. Well, I guess once there's less amount of games and I have just one episode or one video for each week, then it'll be different. But as for now, while I have 2 separate videos coming out for each division, I'm going to do whoever's the home team in these conference games. So I'll do Utah next video. Moving on to number 4th in the North. A little bit of rhyme in there for you. Washington State. And they played a weird game last week in LA against USC. No offensive touchdowns for Mike Leach and company. Their only touchdown came off of a 70-yard pick six off of the estranged USC quarterback position. And the combined yardage between those two last week was just over 400, which most teams in the Pac-12 put up that many yards by themselves last week. On the good note, Washington State only allowed 193 yards. 54 of those were passing. But on the other hand, they gained only 222 yards, and only 22 of those are rushing. So they definitely need to develop some sort of rushing game to keep defenses honest. And what better way to do that than with an FCS team? Southern Utah coming to Pullman this weekend. Shouldn't be too hard of a challenge. Definitely allowing Mike Leach and Connor Halliday to kind of tinker with things and get the last details down before they head into the real meat of their schedule and the Pac-12 conference play. So I'm going to go with 38-14. WSU pulls this one out. Hopefully they get a little bit more offense than that, but it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't. Moving on to number 3, and that is number 19, Washington. And they are headed to Chicago to play Illinois at Soldier Field, a quote-unquote neutral site there. Washington just coming off their bye week last week and a pretty great performance week 1 against Boise. They outscored them 38-6, and they looked pretty good. Although that was at home, this one's going to be on the road where they've only been, I think it was 3-10 the past 2 seasons. So definitely going to be a little bit more challenging for them. Hopefully they can kind of iron out some more details and get this road game going this year, because we definitely have a hard road schedule that we need to win some games if we're going to pass that 7-8 win mark. And not a bad start right here playing against Illinois. I don't think they've won in conference for 2 years, so kind of a lower tier AQ team. But this year they came out firing. They had a close call against Southern Illinois, I think it was. I forgot what direction it was, but it was an Illinois FCS team. And then they come out last weekend against Cincinnati, 45-17 win. Big win for them. Bill Cubitt, he was the Stanford offensive coordinator in 2003-2004. He's now the offensive coordinator at Illinois and is revitalizing the offense with Nathan Schilhaus, the quarterback for Illinois. I'll just say that. And right now they are 10th nationally in the passing game, 363 yards per game. So I think this one's going to come down to defense. I think Washington definitely has the better defense here, and it's improving week by week under Justin Wilcox, and I think that's going to be the deciding factor. We're not going to let them throw all over our secondary, and we're going to limit the amount of points Illinois puts up, and hopefully we can get our receivers going, get some longer throws in there over the top after softening them up with some screens. So I'm picking Washington in this one. And I am going with, I don't have it right now, hold on, Washington 24, Illinois 14. And then we will move on to the top 2 teams here. And number 2 is Stanford. Stanford travels to West Point this week all the way across the country to play Army. Army hasn't been looking good this year, so another kind of tune-up game. As far as Stanford goes, going into, I think they play Arizona State next weekend, so big game on the horizon for the Cardinal, and they want to assert themselves as right where they should be, a top 5 team, and kind of get a good game plan going into next weekend's game. But they don't want to overlook this game. Could be a trap game, but Army's more predominantly more run-based offense, and that's what Stanford likes to defend. They have a big defensive line, fast linebackers, all-American linebackers, I should add, and this game shouldn't be very close, I would think. Stanford looked pretty good last week against San Jose. They only allowed 13 points to them. I would say a fairly good non-AQ team, as they themselves rolled to 34, and for the most part were in complete control of that game. I'm going with Stanford on this one, 37 and Army 13. And I think I might have actually changed that, but I'm just going to keep it right there because that's what I have in front of me. But I think I changed it to like a 44-14. So a little bit more of a spread on that one. As I looked up Army's season so far, I think they're 1-1 with a pretty bad loss and a kind of a close win against an FCS team, if I remember correctly. So that's what I'm thinking for Stanford. Easy win for them. And coming back to Palo Alto, should be their number one plan. Or being healthy should be their number one plan coming back to Palo Alto. And that leaves us with number 1, Oregon Ducks. And they play Tennessee this week coming into Eugene. On the road last week against Virginia. The score was 59-10, I believe it was, at the final. Just completely dominated them. And Virginia looked pretty decent to good last week when they beat BYU, which dismantled Texas last weekend. So it's kind of a weird season going on with BYU and them. I don't know what they're up or down right now. But that's not here or there. We're not talking about BYU. We're talking about the Ducks. And the Ducks looked really good last week. A lot of people said they had a few things to work on still and kind of clean up a bit. But if they're saying that after a 49-point win, then I wouldn't be too concerned. Tennessee is 2-0 coming into Pac-12 country. I don't expect it to be very close. I think that they do have a nice defense, but the speed on Oregon is just too much with Mariota. Another huge run last weekend, and we got to see Tyner last weekend. And then you throw in Marshall and DeAnthony Thomas. They're just unstoppable. It might be close going into halftime, but shortly after, as with most opponents, Oregon is going to just wear them down and run up the score in that second half. I'm predicting a pretty big blowout. I don't know if this is I don't know. Tennessee should be able to limit them more, or maybe score more, but they're kind of having some issues with the report of the SEC players getting ineligible benefits or something like that. So I don't know. We'll see what goes on. I'm going with Oregon 49, Tennessee 17. A huge 32-point victory for them. So the North looks pretty good this weekend as far as competition goes, except for maybe Oregon State and California. But the top 4 teams should roll fairly easily. I want to say that, but I don't want to jinx it. So anyway, that's the North, and we will get the South here shortly. Thanks for watching, and return and check me out on Reddit, and subscribe if you like these videos. Thank you. Bye.